Welcome to Kev's Travel Stories. Each week I'll be bringing you a story from the weird and wonderful world of travel, a world that can change the way you see life and love and even the way we find meaning. Places that are iconic and sometimes surprising and even terrifying. So sit back and enjoy while we go on a magical mystery tour together. I have my wonderful guest and my first and best ski instructor, Aileen Eglington, who knows everything there is to know about skiing and is a very proficient skier herself.
Yeah, and Kevin, I went on my first ski holiday 30 years ago and I've never lost the buzz. I've never lost the buzz for skiing, for simply the ambience of skiing. And I've made such wonderful friends over the last 30 years as well. And that's special.
It is
special in life, including you.
Thank you. I treasure that. And I share your love for skiing. I think it is the ultimate winter holiday, actually. But give us an up-to-date on how the ski is looking for the winter of 2024 going into 2025. What's your instinct? Last year was a bit poor as regards the snow conditions and global warming and blah, blah. What's it looking like for this season?
Do you know, Kevin, the Tyrolean farmers have always said that there's always a bad winter in every 7 winters. And let's hope that 23-24 was that bad winter. I think everybody's very excited about the ski market this year. I'll tell you why. It's been snowing everywhere. They've had fabulous snow. This is November. They've had fabulous snow over the last week and a half in particular. And I think everybody's getting ready. Ski resorts are opening all over Europe. I think people are just getting ready to have a really good season. A lot of hotels have made big investments in doing up their hotels as well, because a lot of them got some funding because obviously they had to close down during COVID, those tough years. I think you'll see a lot of changes out in the resorts. People are spending money, they're doing things differently. What I've seen as well is there's an awful lot of family hotels, which I particularly love. And a lot of people are handing over maybe to the sons or the daughters or whatever. And you're seeing this lovely new energy in all the ski resorts. And I think that's lovely to know.
Okay, that's good news and great news about the snow. After particularly last year, it was challenging, though we all did get away and ski.
We did.
And had great ski in the end. What would be your top places to go to whet the appetite of one of our listeners, whether they're in the UK, America, Ireland? Give us a couple of options.
Well, I think you have to decide how good a skier you are or how good a skier you want to be. If you're not a good skier, and maybe you never will be, I think that you should go for a mid-altitude, mid-price resort. If you're a brilliant skier and you want to get more ski kilometres underneath you, you go to the big places. And if you have plenty of money, there's really special places to go that I would always believe you should ski once. I was lucky to have skied in Whistler in Canada. I was lucky to have skied in Vail and all around the Rockies. However, it's expensive. So when you take that back to Europe, we have so much choice in Europe. One of the companies that I've been talking to, mountainpeople.ie, they've seen a huge swing in people from the States and Canada coming over to Europe for skiing the last season and now this season, because the price of a lift pass alone in the States is gone up to $1,330 at
for
peak season
pass.
For a 6-day ski pass. It's scandalous. It's important for anybody listening from America and Canada that you can come over and get fantastic value in Europe. You just have to make sure that you don't go for New Year. If people have plenty of money who are listening, go to the top resort. Go for New Year, go for half term. But the rest of us, you can play around that.
Yes, and you're looking at, for a ski lift pass, we're looking at not $1,300, but $300.
Anywhere between $300 and $400.
So it's a huge saving.
It's a huge, so that will take your flight into account or your accommodation. So if we look around Europe, there's must-go-to places. So if we take Switzerland, you have wonderful places like Wengen and Verbier, people like that.
Now, they're advanced.
Oh, absolutely. There's no point in going to Verbier unless you're a good skier. in my view.
Would I survive in Verbier?
Yeah, but with a ski instructor.
Yes.
I wouldn't send you alone because there's some tough, steep slopes down there. I call them Catherine Murphy slopes.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
I think that when you look into France has fabulous big ski areas, but just because they're big ski areas doesn't mean they're difficult. You know, if you go to Morzine and Avoria, there's a wonderful whole ski area and
Yes.
brings you to various places.
Yeah. And Val Thorens as well.
Well, Val Thorens, and that's where you followed me down a mountain.
I did.
You did. And Val Thorens is the highest resort in Europe.
Yes.
It's part of the Three Valleys. And that makes up places like Courchevel, Meribel. And then you've got smaller resorts that have built up a road around there as well. And then you've got Les Arcs and Le Plagne. And then you've got the likes of Val d'Isère and Tignes. So Val d'Isère, again, is very expensive, but it's amazing. But if you want to ski that area, stay in Tignes, which is slightly cheaper than Val d'Isère, but you're still in the same ski area. So that's what I'm saying to people, that you really have to play around with these things. When we move into Italy and Austria, there's some fabulous resorts in Italy. I absolutely love Madonna di Campiglio. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful resort, and I'm hoping to go there soon. And you've got Cortina d'Ampezzo, which of course is going to be really in the news worldwide in 2026 because the Winter Olympics are going to be there. So there's a huge amount of investment going into Cortina at the moment. I was lucky to be in Cortina in May, and I met all the Olympic people to hear about the plans for the Winter Olympics. So there's lots of excitement.
And is it good to go? Can you actually go to the place where they're going to hold the Olympics, or are they all cut off?
No, it's all there.
Wow.
In fact, they're looking for loads of volunteers at the moment for the Winter Olympics for 2026.
Right.
So there you go. Then we can talk about, you can talk about Andorra, you can talk about Norway. Norway I find a bit expensive and it's a bit far away, but Andorra's good, but a long drive to get to it. Where I think wins for a lot of average skiers is Austria. And there's a reason for that. You've got quite a choice of airports for Austria. The transfers aren't long and they're through valleys and normally good roads most of the way. Some of the ski resorts in France, it could take you 3-4 hours to get there,
Yes.
depending which airport you go into. Morzine is great because it's Geneva Airport. Hop on the train. Swiss trains are fantastic. And you're in Morzine, Avoria. So you need to look at these things, especially if you're coming from the States. Another thing is, for your listeners that are from the States or Canada, everything in Europe in general revolves around the Saturday turnaround. So you need to be careful if you're coming to plan it like that. If you're coming to Europe for 4 or 5 days, you either do it Saturday to Wednesday or Wednesday to Saturday. You don't do it Friday to Sunday because you're interrupting the hotels on their Saturday turnaround.
Okay.
And it's something that I heard from mountain people. So I think that's an interesting one. But I think that one of the things that is really interesting about your listeners and your listeners that are international, because Dublin is now the 5th biggest hub in Europe, and we now have 17 destinations from the States alone through Aer Lingus into Dublin. It's very easy to use Dublin as your hub to get into Europe. Of course, you can use Munich or you can use Vienna, but it's really interesting to use Dublin. And if you look at some of the deals that the likes of Crystal and Top Flight and Casti Travel, it's really interesting to see. It's a totally different way of thinking about it that I hadn't thought about. But even Delta, a survey out last week, and they've seen the huge growth in people coming to Europe on their holidays, including ski.
Okay, that's very interesting. It is very interesting. What's your take for someone who's skiing and maybe is used to skiing on whether you DIY your holiday or you use an agent?
I think if you have a family, I think if you're a beginner, I think there's a huge benefit in using a tour operator. You've got quite a lot of choice there. As I said, you've got Crystal, you've got Top Flight, you've Direct Ski, you've got Travel Solutions to Bulgaria. So you have a lot of choice. That's Saturday to Saturday. But what does happen in the market in particular is people might want to go on a family holiday, but then they might want to go out themselves for 3-4 days. Most of those tour operators don't do short breaks. And so I think you need to play it around a bit. I think if you're used to Austria, you're used to France, I think France in particular, and because of the airports they fly into, because they tend to fly into Lyon or somewhere like that, you need to be careful because if there's a load of snow and you miss your transfer or you miss your flight, there's a lot of benefit to flying with a tour operator because they look after you. There is big benefit there.
Yes.
But on the other side of that, if you take the likes of Saal and Westendorf and St. Johann in Austria, and they're less than 2 hours from Munich Airport, and there's a fabulous transfer service to Munich Airport with Four Seasons, you can do it yourself.
Yes.
And a lot of Irish people, they've done all these resorts in the past, or you fly to Salzburg with Ryanair or with the charters. They know how to do it.
Yeah.
They know the ski schools. They know the hotels. I find it incredible that I know people who actually book the same room every year because they've got so comfortable.
Yeah.
A bunch of farmers going to Westendorf and their ski instructor is a farmer.
Yes. I know that. Usually I would say as a traveller that it's push yourself to new resorts. And the last few seasons when I've taken the grandkids, we've done from Schladming to
Schladming's fabulous.
Yes, and then Meyerhofen last year. So I think it is interesting, but the kids always want to go back to Westendorf because they had such a good memories there. There's something about the familiar,
But the great thing is there is a resort to suit everybody.
Yes.
And I think that's what people have to discover. But I do think people should try and look around it. But people should go and ski in France at least once. There's a lot of people I know who they only go to Austria, and that's a bit closed.
Yes.
Go to France, experience
Yes.
it.
Now, one thing that I, as a sort of a seasoned skier of a reasonable competence, I've always had the graw to go to America. I know it's expensive. How will it be different for any of our listeners who haven't done the American experience? How is it different?
How is it different? It's different in a number of ways. First of all, obviously, you have to have a much bigger budget for tips.
Okay.
And I think that's a big thing. I found when I was in Colorado, and I've skied 3 times in Colorado, they were even looking for tips when you're having your breakfast. Now, I'm sorry, but at 8 o'clock in the morning, I really don't want to be doing a 25% tip in a hotel. Apart from that, I don't think the queuing system is as good as Europe. And I don't think...
In what way?
It's more basic than Europe. Like, the investment that have been made in France and Austria, from your heated seats to your covered seats to your beautiful cable cars and gondolas and whatever, there's a huge investment. And the world's biggest manufacturer of gondolas is in Austria anyway.
Okay.
Doublemire.
Yes.
I think America's a little bit behind.
Oh.
The other thing about America that I'd be looking at is because Americans don't get as many holidays as we do, everything get bunched into Thursday to Sunday. If I were going to the States, and I'm lucky I would be skiing the other end. I'd be going on a Sunday for quiet
to
slopes.
Wednesday.
Yes.
That's really good insight.
You know?
Yes.
Because the slopes are quiet.
Yeah.
You don't have the huge queues. And I'd be looking at a good resort. There's some great resorts. I think Vail is a fabulous resort. I really do.
Okay.
Vail would be one of my favourites. Up in Canada, it's Whistler, without a doubt.
Okay.
Whistler back home is amazing. And Whistler was designed, the one thing about Whistler is it's a man-made resort. In other words, it was designed to look like a Swiss ski resort. So probably go to the real thing, I think is good.
Finally, what's your take on Bulgaria?
I think that in these days of people watching their budget, I think Bulgaria is a brilliant market for people starting off in skiing. Particularly, I think it's great for school groups. I think it's also great for a family, and also great for maybe groups of young lads or girls who go. You've got a couple of really good resorts like Borovets and Pamparovo and Bansko. I've been to them all. And Travel Solutions, they're the biggest tour operator in Northern Ireland, but they're also the biggest tour operator to Bulgaria. So they've flights from Dublin and Belfast. Some of their prices are coming in like 1,000, 1,200, including your full ski pack.
Wow.
So I think that's a serious saving. I don't think it's for experienced skiers, but I think it's great fun. And I think that it's worth a go if you're starting off.
And the quality of snow?
Look, this year was whatever. Quality of snow was fine.
Okay.
Quality of snow is fine.
Okay. You have given us so much to think about there. You've whetted my appetite from going to Vail in the States all the way to Bulgaria and everywhere in between. Aileen, thank you so much for our introduction to this year's exciting ski season.
It's all open. They're waiting for us, Kevin.